Welcome back, friends. Today we've got a hot topic for you. We are talking about birth control. I get it. I'm a man. I haven't had to wrestle with this decision. But as the beauty of social media grows and everybody's got a voice, more and more women are coming out and sharing their experiences about birth control. Many bad, but some good as well. And what they're trying to do is give you informed consent and say, hey, I wish I'd have known this when I was told to get on birth control. So I'm going to share what I know now and maybe help you make a decision about that. So let's dive in and see what people are saying on the internet. Lorde, coming off the pill. This is the singer, right? The famous, what did she sing? Where did she go? Maybe she came off the pill and disappeared into obscurity. She had some bangers back in the day. All right, Lorde has opened up about coming off the contraceptive pill. During the latest cover for Rolling Stone, she told writer Brittany Spanos that towards the end of 2023, she stopped taking birth control for the first time since she was 15. Now I'm just going to pause right there. That's wild to me. This is like, there's this term called informed consent. And I think it's really, really important when you're thinking about medical treatments and medicine and vaccines and whatever else. There has to be informed consent. Because if the consent is not informed, then it's not really, like, you don't have a fully informed decision. You're actually just blindly handing over your locus of authority and your trust to the person that's usually in the white coat that's saying, oh, this is totally safe. And I've had conversations with my wife about this, with my brother's wife about this, where I asked them, just curiously, did your doctor ever talk to you about potential risks of the birth control pill? And they were like, no. They said there is no risk. It's all upside. And most people at 15, they're getting put on this, not even for the protection against unwanted pregnancies. They're often getting put on for hormonal issues. They're getting put on for, the acne. They're getting put on for the inconvenience of having a cycle. And just told that, oh, this is wonderful. You can just take it whenever you want. There's no drama. There's no repercussions. There's no health complications. And now we're starting to see that that wasn't probably the full story. So Lorde, she stopped after 15. I've now come to see that my decision, as maybe some quasi-right-wing programming, but I hadn't ovulated in 10 years. Wow. And when I ovulated for the first time, I cannot describe to you how crazy it was. One of the best drugs I've ever done. Ovulation, natural process in the body that you're supposed to do once you hit your childbearing years, is something that she hadn't done in 10 years. It's one of the best drugs she's ever done. Isn't it cool what the body can do? The medicine of nature. She said she felt like she had superpowers, as if being off birth control had peeled film off of her life. But it also came with bigger crashes than she'd ever experienced, and the singer was eventually diagnosed with premenstrual dysphoric disorder, PMDD, often described as a severe form of premenstrual syndrome. So isn't that interesting? It's kind of like it opens you up to the more natural cycles of the way the body works, which means higher highs because you're not chemically castrating that cycle, but higher highs, potential lower lows too. But that is the fullness of the experience. I can't speak to that from first-hand lived experience because I've never had a cycle. But I live with my wife, and funnily enough, when we first met, she got off the pill shortly thereafter when we realized we were each other's person. And she reported similar things. She'd just been on it. She'd been put on it since she was, I think it was 13, 14 years old. Crazy. And when we met, she was 22 years old. So this is an 8-year stint with this stuff. And then just coming off it, like cold turkey, and being like, whoa, my body's doing like weird things. So I once had a podcast guest tell me that taking the pill is a chemical form of going through the menopause. And essentially what she was saying is that the cycle, the woman's cycle and ovulation is treated as an inconvenience, basically, because you go through these fluctuations where at a certain time of the month, you feel like you're on top of the world and you're hard charging. And then for a week of the month, you want to curl up and lay in bed. And that's not very useful to a capitalistic patriarchal system that needs you to just be steady and show up for work and be a cubicle slave and clock in. So it was kind of like, funnily enough, it was invented by a man. It was sold as female empowerment. It was like, hey, you don't ever have to risk unwanted pregnancies again. Well, you have to wonder whether that was like the Trojan horse of female empowerment, which was really just some like white dudes that were like, we're moving from a brawn-based economy into a brain-based economy, and we just need more butts in seats. And actually, these women are really smart, and they can do it just as good as the guys can do it. But inconveniently, they're getting pregnant, and they're dealing with all of these hormone things. So why don't we just like numb them out and keep them in the office 365 days a year and call it empowerment? Ta-ching! Like genius. Evil genius, but genius.
Birth control is one of the most damaging things you can put in your body.
Hot take.
specifically for your body's biological stress response. This is because birth control is linked to increased prefrontal brain activity when you're experiencing negative feelings or emotions.
So prefrontal brain activity like fear, anxiety, stress, worry, the not good stuff.
So on birth control, your brain spends more time capturing memories of stress, fear, worry, and trauma than it does on memories of happiness, joy, and contentment. And over time, that will disrupt your processing of those negative emotions, which is impacting the way you respond to both minor and major stressors. Not only does birth control mess with the way that you handle stress, there's also evidence for increased potential for nutrient deficiencies, weight gain, persistent low mood, and also a higher risk of experiencing a stroke, blood clot, and even a heart attack.
Damn. But hey, you won't get pregnant. Or you could just like practice some other ways of not getting pregnant, like not having casual unprotected sex. I know that's a controversial opinion, but like all of these side effects, and then you're just like, oh, but this is good for you and it will help you not have acne. And it's like, no, once you scratch under the surface, there's kind of a lot of stuff going on here that's not that healthy for you. And I've heard many anecdotal stories of women coming off birth control, and that's what they describe. It's just like, I lost, 10 pounds essentially fell off over the months that I got off birth control. I just felt more balanced and calm. I'm less anxious. Like, isn't that what we really want? And again, it makes sense when you zoom out far enough and you think about you are disrupting the cycle of life, the literal cycle of life. Women create all the life, and it's due to this cycle that you are altering with chemicals. And then thinking that that's just some kind of biological free lunch. It's obviously not. And these are just some of the risks, I imagine.
So if you've been taking birth control for longer than a year, this might be why you're experiencing low mood, irritability, and you're also a compulsive worrier.
Damn. But education is the best motivation. Like, maybe this is the thing that you need to think about changing. Is there a different kind of contraception? Do you do fertility awareness method? Do you just like raw dog it, pun intended, and come off this stuff and get healthy? And I think a lot of people somewhat have this sense of ambient anxiety of like, what is wrong with me? I'm doing all the right stuff. I'm eating the right foods. I'm working out. I'm listening to Andrew Huberman. I'm getting my morning sunlight. And I still feel anxious and not at home in my own body. And then you're like, are you on birth control? And they're like, oh yeah, I've been on birth control since I was 12. It's like, maybe that's it.
And most people who agree to a birth control pill don't receive full informed consent. They're not told that it'll raise the inflammation in your body by 2 to 3-fold. It increases your risk of autoimmune disease, especially Crohn's disease.
See.
It makes your control system for your hormones less flexible. It can rob you of testosterone. It can lower your free testosterone. It can shrink your clitoris by up to 20%. I feel like if that was part of the informed consent, very few people would sign up for it. And I went on the birth control pill when I was 16. But I feel like there are some costs to it that a lot of teenagers and women in their 20s and 30s aren't aware of. And for me, I feel like that awareness is really critical. So who's it for? I would say it's a simple entree into contraception, but I would much rather people use things like an IUD or condoms or some other barrier method that doesn't mess with their hormonal intelligence.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. So you've got like a laundry list of side effects from the previous person to this person now. We've got like, 10 different things that this can contribute to. And again, informed consent is on the table here. Like, maybe if these conversations were being had in the doctor's office when women go to get the pill, and they were saying like, here's what it does. Stops unwanted pregnancies. Here's what it can do with these other benefits, although those are questionable. Here's what it can also cause: hormonal dysfunction, increased inflammation, and then you go down that list. At least you're giving the person that's sitting there the choice to go, wait, is this worth it for the risk of this? But right now, this conversation's not happening. And that's the problem. It's just like, take the pill, no problems, no dramas. When clearly then women are dealing with the consequences of this 5, 10, 15 years after. And what's happening to our infertility crisis? How much of this, these girls, women being put on this, these are girls when they get put on this. These are not fully formed adults. They don't have informed consent. These are teenagers. And then they're 30 years old and they want to get pregnant and they can't. And how much of that, just a decade plus of hormonal chemical castration and manipulation, is contributing to that? I would think it's certainly not nothing.
Alright, this is honestly the last thing I want to fucking talk about, but if I can save a girl from going through this, then it's worth it. So get ready with me for my like 5th doctor's appointment because of this reason. I got on birth control for 3 years without doing any sort of research, and it completely ruined my body long term. Now I know I'm gonna get dumbasses in the comments. I know I'm not a doctor, and I know everybody's body reacts differently. Sorry, I hate when dumbass people comment dumbass shit like it's not common sense. But this was my experience being on Nexaplanon, which is the thing in your arm. I still have a scar from it, if you can see that. I've had it out for over a year now, and I'm still dealing with the repercussions of it.
I didn't even know that that was a thing. So this looks like it's a subcutaneous form of the pill, essentially. It's like slowly leaching into your body. Is crazy.
So the side effects while I was on it were completely terrible. Depression, anxiety, panic attacks. Literally no interest in intimacy whatsoever, which literally defeats the point of having it. Weight gain, and I don't mean like an extra 10 pounds, I mean like an extra 30. Birth control also makes it extremely difficult to build muscle, so that was fun going to the gym for years and seeing absolutely no progress until I got off. That was really sexy. I did have no period the entire time that I was on it though, and you might be like, oh my god, that's so nice, that's a good thing. That cannot be fucking healthy. Like, it was fun, don't get me wrong, but like that cannot be healthy. That can't be good for you. It became very clear that it wasn't good for me. Getting off of it came with even more concerning side effects. So if you're on birth control right now and you don't have any side effects, be careful when you get off of it. Completely screwed up my hormones. Like, my hormones are so insanely terrible now. If only y'all knew like half of the side effects that I have. For one, my body clings to fat like there's no tomorrow. It's obviously like really fucking sucks because I work my ass off in the gym, I eat right, and I just can't lose weight because my hormones are so fucked up from being on that shit. My cycles are like 50 days long. So every month is basically a pregnancy scare, and that's really fun. It's always a fun little game. Okay, this is TMI, but I really don't give a fuck. My girls started leaking. The first time it happened,
Whoa, this is wild. I wonder how much of this is kind of like, you know, when guys take TRT, exogenously, testosterone replacement therapy, their testes internally, endogenously stop producing testosterone because they're getting a signal that's coming into the body that's basically saying, hey, we don't need you anymore. And the birth control is that multiplied out to way more complex system in women's physiology. So she's on it for a long time and then she come off it. And all of these systems that are usually regulating this stuff naturally that have been essentially switched off or laid dormant for X amount of years that you've been on the contraceptive pill are now asked to suddenly like, hey, kick back on, we need you again. And they go haywire in the process, like clinging onto body fat, leaking boobs, like 50-day long cycles because completely dysregulated. They have no idea which way is up or down because they were robbed of natural cycles. Now, you know, the body's intelligence, the intelligence that created the body and can create life, can heal the body. But man, wouldn't it be great to see like a slew of the population not failed by this? She started this by saying, I didn't do any research, but how many people at the ages they get on contraceptive pill are doing their own research? It should be, if the Hippocratic oath is to first do no harm, shouldn't it be on the family doctor or whoever it is that's getting people on this to do the research for these people and say, again, not telling you what to do, here's the full totality of risk. Here's the informed consent. This is what it's always going to keep coming back to. Otherwise, you end up with poor girls like this that are on a healing journey, that are trying to spread that awareness to stop other people going through it because the doctor never had that conversation with them. And that's criminally negligent.
I feel like I only ever hear people talk about their negative experience with birth control. And whenever I mention that I'm on birth control, I get comments saying that I'm stupid and that I should get off of it. So I just wanted to share my positive experience with birth control and why I'm on it. For some background, I'm 28. I got on birth control when I was like 13 or 14, got off of it like 3 years ago. I didn't notice anything major when I first got off birth control. I actually really liked it. And then all of a sudden, I started missing my periods. And I would go like 3 to 4 months without getting a period. And then when I would get my period, it felt like everything was like backed up after not getting it. And then I would have the worst period ever. Another thing that I struggled with a lot was my acne. It felt like no matter how clear my skin was, I always had cystic acne on my jawline. So I ended up going to my OBGYN and I figured out that I have PCOS. After so many visits, my doctor was so thorough, I decided to go back on birth control. Like I said, I would go 3 to 4 months without a period. Now that I'm on the pill, I am on a cycle. Like I have 3 weeks, then my period. I don't get cystic acne anymore. Like right now I'm on my period, and normally when I'm on my period, I would have so many pimples on my chin. None. This is without the beauty filter. None. Literally None. I also feel like the swelling and like my neck and my face has gone down so much. My hair is finally growing. Like obviously there's so many other factors that contribute to these things, but I just feel so much better that I'm on it now. But I just wanted to share my experience in case you've been seeing a lot of people talking about the negative sides of it, or if you've been going back and forth whether you should get off of it. At the end of the day, do what's best for you. Talk to your doctor. Your doctor's gonna know a lot more than me or someone else that you see on TikTok. I'm so happy that I made this choice for me, but always do what's best for you.
I can't argue with that. You have to do what's best for you. This is an interesting case because it sounds like she wanted to get off, because she did for a little bit of time. And similarly to the last story, when she got off the pill, things were a bit chaotic and they were problematic again, and the hormones were raging and they weren't balanced because they'd never really had a chance to get balanced. And she also had this added layer of complexity, which is PCOS. So getting back on the pill provided a sense of consistency and safety and predictability that her natural state could not attain because she was battling some stuff. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, that kind of seems like a band-aid solution and you should have figured it out, because I'm not living in that body and I can't imagine what it's like to go through that, and that's really difficult. And if you have something that makes your life markedly easier, you got to do what's best for you, to this lady's point. However, it is interesting that that's kind of the case. It kind of proves the point that even though she's subjectively having a better experience now because her hormones aren't out of whack, what's put them back in whack is not natural. It is a synthetic landscape that she's playing in now that she can control through a medication. So it's a band-aid approach, if you will. It's not addressing the root cause. And she said, listen to your doctor, which we advise, of course, because your doctor is going to know more than random people on the internet. However, wonder if the doctor ever had a conversation about the PCOS, which could be one of the biggest root cause contributing factors here. Did he ever talk to her about diet and lifestyle and insulin resistance and stress management? Or did they just say, oh, well, you've got PCOS, so you're a great candidate for the pill, instead of actually trying to address it? Again, do what's best for you. But this is almost a roundabout way of proving the point that the synthetic nature of birth control and the dysregulation of the cycle that you're going to kind of have to counter when you come off it is not the problem in and of itself. Like dealing with natural hormones, it can manifest as a problem as your body tries to find homeostasis. And if you have the wherewithal to stick with it for a little bit, to clear up nutrient deficiencies, to even look to potential therapeutic solutions that are outside of the contraception pill, to look at things like Heart and Soil's Her Package, which we have dozens of reviews of people regulating the cycle using an animal-based diet and nutrition, clearing up nutrient deficiencies, and even getting ahead of PCOS. These are the things that can help with the cycle, not just, for want of a better word, taking the easy way out by jumping back on the pill.
I'm not here to say the birth control pill isn't great, but I don't think it would be approved today if it was up for approval. This pill was made in the 1950s. It was the first chronic disease treatment, and it actually started and unlocked the chronic disease pharmaceutical industry that we have today, because people could see that they could convince people to be on one pill for a long period of time. The medical system kind of has it both ways, where they say, well, this is going to so dramatically impact your core evolutionary function and be like an extremely powerful pill that you're taking every day for life. And on the other hand, they're saying it's just fine. I mean, these things have real impacts.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's no biological free lunches. You can't synthesize down the power of this pill and what it does to essentially shut down the most powerful, arguably the most powerful process of natural human creation and life, and say that it's completely safe. That's a powerful drug. It's a powerful drug. And the dose makes the poison. And if you're taking this all the time, slowly over time, that poison's got to add up, right? And just, from the male perspective here, if I asked any of my guy friends, would they take a pill that just like shut down their fertility and, increase the risk and increase their inflammation and like made them a bit more anxious and took away their zest for life and made it hard to like find sexual satisfaction or, get a boner and get horny and things like that? And hey, would you take that, to prevent an unwanted pregnancy? They would say, no. Never in a million years would they do that. And it's just been thrust upon women as a totally normal and acceptable thing. And if I was a woman, I'd be really pissed off too. And I see these comments. I'm like, well, they should do this for men. Men ain't going to take it. So it's not that. We can't do that. Men aren't going to eat that up. But what we can do is at least try and have these conversations, at least try and have these educations so that you can make a more empowered decision. Because taking this, it just seems like it's the classic easy choice is hard life. It's an easy choice to take it, and you're sold this false bill of goods that it's completely safe and it's super convenient and you're going to feel more balanced and yada yada, but it's going to create the hard life down the road when you're dealing with the fallout from messing up your natural cycles for years, if not decades.
What do you wish you were told on that day when you were first given that little packet of pills? If they were being completely honest with you and they knew what you know now, what is the sort of the list of things you would have said to a young Sarah about this decision?
The thing that would have really made a difference to me is that your hormones make you who you are. And when you change your hormones, you change who you are, right? So the birth control pill is going to change you. It changes the version of yourself that your brain creates. And so if you're going to be going on this, you need to understand what that does. So this, of course, begs the question, what does it do? And there's at least 5 different things that the birth control does to change who we are, right? It changes our sexual desire and who we're attracted to.
I've heard this, by the way. This is crazy. Women on the birth control pill will choose more effeminate features in men. They will go for more, for want of a better term, like the soy boy archetype. They will choose like weaker men because something is happening. The brain's changing. The brain is changing. The emotions and the cycle in the body, the pheromones are changing. What they're seeking out, because at the core of it, we're like, sex is really animalistic and you're altering that whole pathway, that you're choosing a mate that is not necessarily suited to you. Now what happens? You think you like this person. You choose that person because you're living in a foreign body. You are not, your hormones dictate who you are. You're artificially hacking your hormones. So you're artificially being a slightly different version of who you really are. You choose a mate because you're really attracted to them, and then a year into the relationship, you come off the pill and you start to regulate, and all of a sudden you're repulsed by this man in front of you. You're like, ooh, I've got the ick. What is that? Well, it could be that you're now entering into your natural homeostasis and your hormones, and that has all kinds of complications. What if you marry this person? What if you have children with this person after you get off and then realize that you weren't actually matched in the first place because you were chemically hijacked? This is like a pretty big deal.
It can affect our moods. It can affect our ability to regulate and to manage stress. It influences sexual desire and sexual function. It influences our ability to be able to put on muscle mass and affects our like nutrition and fitness goals, right? It affects all of us. And not knowing all of that and not knowing the potential risks of having side effects related to mental health and libido, all the way to everything, you know, to like who a person is attracted to. I wish I would have known that. That probably would have, you know, impacted, again, decisions that I would have made about staying on it when I didn't need to.
And we kind of end this conversation where we began it. She said, I wish I would have known that. That's informed consent. She had no idea. Much like most of the women that get on this, they don't have any idea. And the lucky few escape with minimal damage, but the many that are harmed by this have to deal with that laundry list of shit because nobody told them. And quite frankly, it's just not fair. It's not healthy. It's not natural. Again, I'm not a woman. I'm not telling you what to do with your body, but I'm trying to use my voice to at least give some amplification to the voices that are trying to spread informed consent. Because if your doctor's not going to do it, then we've got to turn to somewhere else to figure out that there's no free lunches in life. Everything comes with attention, you know, weighing the risks, weighing the cost-benefit analysis. And this is one of those things that needs to be talked about more. Do your own research. Think about what's best for your body. Consult with your primary care physician or whoever helps you make these decisions. But don't just blindly trust what the experts say, because we can see how dangerous that can get really quickly. Stay informed and stay radical, and we'll see you next time.